Hey guys, so it was race weekend. I'm at the parks obviously, and I have a medal, which means I did it. But wanted to touch base about the pros and cons from this weekend. I know that there's a lot of mixed reviews about it. I have more pros than cons. And a lot of the cons are honestly coming from Walt Disney World goers. So that's one thing to think about, but let's get to it. Here's the cons. Wait, did I say I was going to start at pros? I don't know. I'm going to tell you the cons that I've been hearing. The early morning start, which I actually think was a benefit to us because that means that we weren't swept early. So that's one thing I heard. Another thing I heard was the characters inside the parks were either weird or there wasn't enough. I definitely felt like there could have been a lot more characters. That's definitely one of my cons as well. And also backlot used to have more of the parade floats, so different ones that they've had throughout the years. I've been talking to a lot of people today. I had somebody say that the 10K was weird, that the characters, they were all ducks because the theme was Donald and Daisy Duck. But that makes more sense, so that there were duck characters. But I know for me, there used to be a lot more characters, and there used to be more character like spots where you could take pictures of them. And so that I was kind of disappointed with. Also for me, there wasn't a lot of photopass photographers taking pictures. Usually you had them like across the entire parks, and that wasn't the case. There was just only a few, so that was kind of a bummer. All right, my biggest con, hold on, monorail is going by. Slowing down. My biggest con was that we didn't get to run through Angel Stadium, and Angel Stadium didn't even, like, the workers, there weren't workers there weren't anything, and it was a really boring section of the race. So that was really disappointing because it used to be we'd run through Angel Stadium, there were people cheering, and it was just one of the best parts of the race. All right, another thing I heard was security was pretty wild. I got through super fast, so that wasn't a big deal for me. But I hear that the day of the 5K and 10K, it was just kind of crazy. This year they checked our stuff when they used to not do that. Not that I'm against it, that's just not what they used to do. So that was kind of a big deal for a lot of people. But again, for me, I got in and out super fast and got to my corral and just kind of hung out. And another thing was that there was a late start, but it really wasn't that big of a, maybe like 15 minutes. So like, I don't know, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. So I think that's all the cons. Okay, there was one more con. There was a bottleneck right next to Soarin' between the plane that like Pluto's usually at and Soarin'. It got super tight, and there was so many people complaining in the moment, but that was a big deal for a lot of people as well. So I think that's enough of the cons. Let me go with the pros. So I think for me, I kept in mind the entire time that it had been 7 years since runDisney has been in California. So I wanted to be gracious, and it definitely seemed like the people from 7 years ago weren't here anymore. So that was a big deal because there's a lot of different things. Obviously, the start was different, and that freaked me out at first, like where we started. And I think that set the tone for some people. But I honestly think that they did the best that they could. I had people tell me that it felt like kind of just thrown together, which I know is not true. And, it takes a lot to put on an event. So anyways, let me go over the pros. Okay, my first pro is that we were in the parks for a lot longer than we were normally in the old races. Right? So, so we were in the parks more. And so I did like that. I liked that that was like a large chunk, so I think it like kind of allowed the time to go by faster. So that was a big plus for me personally. I talked to mostly Disney World people today, and they were saying, a lot of them said this, that I think what made such a big difference is that Disney World, everything whenever you run there, it's all on property. So there's characters all over the entire course, and that threw them off, since like we left the Disneyland property after 5 miles and it's just street. But if you had run these races prior, you would know that that's what happened. So it wasn't a surprise to me, and I'm sure former Run Disney California people, but it was to a lot of the people, like a lot of complainers. And obviously one of my pros is that it was in California. It's finally back, and that meant a lot to a lot of us that have been running these races and can't go to Florida and have had to stop. I stopped running more because of my kids and all this stuff, but it was definitely nice to have them back, and I was so excited. It was very emotional for me, and I really enjoyed running and just appreciating that they were back in California. I'm trying to think of more pros. I honestly, all in all, was really happy with how it went. Of course, I have a few complaints here and there, but I mean, in my opinion, it's just gonna get better. I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it being here. I enjoyed being back to running here at Disneyland and California Adventure. And so I personally am gonna attempt to sign up in February for the September races. And I enjoyed myself. I don't think that there was enough bad to make me not sign up again. And I guess it bummed me out that for a lot of people, that's how they felt. And I think this might be the last thing I say unless I remember something else. I do think though that like if you came from Walt Disney World to Disneyland, I think it's important to understand that they're just two different places. Disneyland is a very different place than Disney World. It's smaller here. Disney hasn't taken over all of Anaheim. We're just happy that Anaheim agreed to do this again. And so Disney World is definitely different. So I think it's important for us not to compare in that way. So I just think that that's important to kind of put into the judgment process. I've never done Disney World, so this is all I know. I know what they used to be, so I know what it can turn into. So I think that's why I'm super positive about it. So if you're in doubt, I definitely think you should sign up. But am I against people not signing up? Of course not, because that means that we'll get the races we want during registration. So anyway, so I hope that helps you guys in understanding how this weekend went and everything. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts were if you ran this weekend, and what you thought Disney could have done better, and what you thought they did good. Because I just, you know what it is I think that everybody just spent the time complaining and not just enjoying themselves and appreciating like what was happening. So I think that's what, for me, that was my biggest thing when people were kind of telling me their opinions. So anyways, that's it. And let me know below again what you thought of this weekend if you ran. Okay, one more thing. I'm gonna say this. Run Disney people, we can be super snobby, because I've only run, all my races have been Run Disney races except for 2. And one was in Utah, and it was a really fun experience. And the second one was the Hollywood Half Marathon, and it was just awful. You want to talk about running in the streets. We were like running next to homeless people. It was just a wild experience. So like, I think that we can be spoiled with what Disney does. And so I think I really just think we should just be thankful that it was here and that we got to run through Disneyland and California Adventure, and it was fun. So anyways, okay, I'm done now for real. Make sure you follow Cat Family Adventures. Wait, subscribe. And like this video, and we'll see you next time.